Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. This video is about Genesis 22. I'm almost certainly not going to be able to finish the book of Genesis due to extreme sabotage. I made this video after I made 2 videos before this where I was very serious. They'll probably change the sound of my voice to make it sound weird. And I want people to understand various things, right? I judge people fairly as individuals and as groups. I'm mad at everybody outside the divine order. They have a fanatic belief in the psychological construct, which is what is telling them to do what they shouldn't do, which is to keep having cursed kids and to keep, contradicting Luke 23, where it says, don't have kids. This is the end. We see in Matthew 24, it says, don't have kids. This is the end. It said people are still being married and given in marriage, which means they're having sex with each other, having kids, up to the time of the flood. So it was in Sodom and Gomorrah, right? They didn't understand what was about to happen. And we see these things referenced, right? Luke, Matthew, what have you. So now God has put me in a situation where for a long time now I have seen that I'm going to be screened out. And I'm very proud. I'm very proud to worship God. I don't doubt God for a moment. I know that God is right. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son in your story long ago. And it was superimposed on things that actually happen. Things that don't come with some kind of Hollywood miracle type nonsense. God gave you such a chance. He sent me. Look at the gap between me and other people. I'm so much wiser than they are, so much smarter than they are. God gave you the optimum chance in the end. Even though you kept breeding away from the Royal African Falcon martial art, went all over the world. Those who stayed around started being super Judas-like and like the rest of the world. But God still sent me to this world, and I was born here in California. You had plenty of chance to realize, hey, God's Son is here. He's the top martial arts, but your peoples, your groups, your religions, your families, they chose to suppress me instead of help me. And so now I find myself on a planet where there's no Virgin Mary, right? No Virgin Maria, which is like the word Moriah. We'll get to that. Mariah Carey, the region of Moriah, right? Things that have to do with love, right? And what they superimpose on love, like the R&B singers like Mariah Carey. They're Luciferian erotic desire garbage. They're psychology garbage. They're propaganda, theater art rubbish. So let's talk about Genesis 22 here. As I move forward to the end, they're fuming me and poisoning me, hacking my brain, trying to enslave me. If you want to kill Jesus, what do? You try to enslave him. You want to kill Jesus, what do? You try to, crucify him. If you want to kill Jesus, what do? You fume and you poison him. When you do these things one way or another, I'm not predicting this in some kind of theater arts, propaganda, common interpretation of the Bible sort of way. I use my divine insight and say, what's going on here? And what's likely to happen? I don't know for sure what is going to happen. I don't know for sure if I'm going to die tomorrow or whatever, but I know that the circumstances of the situation are leading me to the end, and I'm convinced past a certain point where I'm proceeding as if I'm convinced 100%, because that's the smart way to play this, that my flesh is going to be killed soon. The circumstances that will cause that one way or another will rise. Whether I die in my sleep from fumes or poisons, whether this or that, it will occur, and that England, Israel, and America, and the governing class of the world, and all the inhabitants of the world will be guilty according to their deeds for not meeting my requirements, for persecuting me, for rebelling against God, you name it. And so God is guiding me to that place. To that place that has everything to do with Maria, who broke my heart when I was in high school, and I don't love at all. Has everything to do with my ex-fiancée, Mary Kate, who teamed up with the enemies of God, and who was my ex-fiancée, who broke my heart, who I don't love anymore. The word Maria, right? Mary Kate was her name, at least what she told me. Mary is like, is Maria, and it's like the word Mariah. And you have Rome, I, ha. So the Romans think they're laughing when they have no counter argument. The Romans as the spirit of the Romans, Neo-Romans, Westerners, the world, you name it. They have no counter argument for the fact that a short, righteous life is better. What I say to you, Roman dogs, who is the hero of the story? Who was Caesar at the time? Most of you don't know. Was it Pilate? That sniveling coward? Was it Herod? Was it Caiaphas? Was it the damn Pharisees or Sadducees? Names that live in infamy to this day, even among other rebels, they think of them as puss. No, I am the hero of the story. If someone said that Harry Potter was the top martial artist, and everyone acted like he was, would you think that he's the hero of the story? Or would you know that the one who actually is, whether you heard of him or not, is the hero, and that's me? And you people are mere mimickers, mockers, scoffers. You are defeated. Because I'm in charge, I'm in control. God, and then me. Sometime later, God tested Abraham, and he said to him, Abraham, here I am, he replied. Then God said, take your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on a mountain I will show you. Early the next morning, he got up and loaded his donkey. He took with him 2 of his servants and his son Isaac. When he had cut enough wood for the burnt offering, he set out for the place God had told him about. On the 3rd day, Abraham looked up and saw the place in the distance. He said to his servants, stay here with the donkey while and the boy go over there. We will worship and then we will come back to you. Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and placed it on his son Isaac. And he himself carried the fire and the knife as the 2 of them went on together. So let's stop here. It reminds me of Isaiah 30, where it talks about Christ coming back, right? The Lord will cause people to hear his majestic voice, and will make them see his arm coming down with raging anger and consuming fire with cloudburst. The cloud Christ comes back on, the martial arts strike, thunderstorm and hail. The voice of the Lord will shatter Assyria with his rod. He will strike them down. Every stroke the Lord lays on them with his punishing club will be to the music of timbrels and harps as he fights them in battle with the blows of his arm. Topheth, right, top heat, has been long prepared. It has been made ready for the king. Its fire pit has been made deep and wide with an abundance of fire and wood. With an abundance of what? Fire and wood. The breath of the Lord, like a stream of burning sulfur, sets it ablaze. So let's go back here again to Genesis 22, verse 7. Isaac spoke up and said to his father Abraham, Father. Let's go back to this other verse here. Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and placed it on his son Isaac, and he himself carried the fire and the knife. As the 2 of them went on together, Isaac spoke and said to his father Abraham, Father. Yes, my son, Abraham replied. The fire and wood are here, Isaac said. But where's the lamb for the burnt offering? Abraham answered, God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son. And the 2 of them went on together. So in a sense he lied, in a sense he didn't. But he knew he had to do God's work, regardless of what the people on the earth think. I'm not lying in my videos. I've corrected all my mistakes in my videos. I am the Son of God. I am the top martial artist ever possible. The ideal man. People will be cut off after my flesh dies. And so on and so forth. So again, you have the fire and the wood. Topheth has been long prepared. It has been made ready for the king. Its fire pit has been made deep and wide with an abundance of fire and wood. The breath of the Lord, like a stream of burning sulfur, sets ablaze. Now, are they supposed to cause my death? No, I said you obey God through me. Don't do what you think is right. Don't do what the book says. I don't like the Bible or the Torah or the Quran. Don't do what mere books say. Do what I say. They're not doing God's work. But nonetheless, they're raising hell by screening me out. And they're cursing themselves and their offspring to the extreme. This does not help the Jews, the whites, the LGBT community, you name it. But they think it's a good idea, apparently, because they're idiots. The people doing it are idiots. If that applies to their entire groups, and that's what it is. When they reached the place God had told him about, Abraham built an altar there and arranged the wood on it. He bound his son Isaac and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. Then he reached out his hand and took the knife to slay his son. But the angel of the Lord called out to him from heaven, Abraham, Abraham, here I am. He replied, now are the people doing this to me magically angels? No. They are very sick people. They're not supposed to test me. The Bible says, don't put the Lord thy God to the test. You're not supposed to play some sick game. On this trajectory, my flesh will die. And people will be cursed to the extreme. And there'll be no way to connect to heaven, and people are forbidden to pray. And when they do, inevitably I expect they will, that they will be punished more, them and their offspring in the afterlife. It was very stupid for them to do this. Very, very stupid. But the angel of the Lord called out to him from heaven, Abraham, Abraham, here I am, he replied. Do not lay a hand on the boy, he said. Do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son. And God knows that I'm not going to withhold my flesh. I'm going to sacrifice my flesh, and I'm going to put my soul in God's hands. And my agreement with God is going to put me at his right hand. God told me this in a way that is more certain than water has told you that it's wet. I know for sure God's going to put me at his right hand, and as people die, like 189,000 people will die in the next 24 hours, give or take, that I'm going to be punishing their souls. I'm on God's side firmly. I committed in principle and in spirit to God's side, and the massacre of the human beings will continue, and we'll be marshaling them to hell. Nothing will go right for them. They'll just use psychology to pretend it does, and every time something goes wrong and they get it, that is from God and I. There's nothing you people can do. The abrupt ending comes, you act like worms, there's nothing you can do. Those who are on my side will be long gone, and you and your offspring, eventually just your offspring or whatever, will be here still, and will still be punishing you. And you'll still be going out like punks, still hiding from Goliath while being massacred in spirit first and foremost. That is a pitiful, pitiful state. That is a pitiful fate. Take it from the top martial artist ever. You have failed your offspring more than anyone who's ever lived. Well, I've made God prouder than anyone who's ever lived and anyone who ever will live. I, obviously, have won. Abraham looked up, and there in the thicket he saw a ram behind him. Caught by its horns, he went over and took the ram and sacrificed it as a burnt offering instead of his son. So Abraham called that place, the Lord will provide. And to this day it is said, on the mountain of the Lord it will be provided. So obviously I don't pray anymore because they're fuming me and poisoning me, and I don't want to disrespect God. But if I was to pray, I would say to God that I know that he'll provide. And no matter how much these people interfere with this stuff, and me talking in a sense to God, but God just knows my heart already, that is the case. God has weighed my heart. He knows my intentions. He knows the treachery of the people doing this. He knows they're using psychology, trying to convince me of this, that, and the other thing. But the facts remain. 1 + 1 = 2. 1 + 1 + 1 = 3. They might change that and edit this out and make it seem like I'm not thinking straight, but I'm thinking straight. 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 = 5. I'm thinking straight. I'm doing the math. I understand what is going on here. I'm 6'4" about. I'm mulatto. I'm in a black Ford Fusion in Morgan Hill, California, in the parking lot by McDonald's on a tenant in Monterey or so, in between that and the other cross street over there. I understand. I have shorter hair. I'm on a blue sweater, white shoes, tan pants. I'm in reality. I know to do God's work, and I'm doing it. And that's really what tells us I'm in reality, not the other things I just said. The angel of the Lord called to Abraham from heaven a second time and said, I swear by myself, declares the Lord, that because you have done this and have not withheld your son, your only son, I will surely bless you and make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and as the sand on the seashore. Your descendants will take possession of the cities of their enemies. Unfortunately, his flesh-based descendants will do so as Satanists. And animals will lick dust like the snake, as it says. And the worm that consumes them will never be satisfied. The fire that burns them will never be quenched. Just like the rest of the inhabitants on the earth, they're outside the divine order. They're in rebellion. It says in Isaiah at least twice, there is no peace for the wicked, says the Lord. They have broken the covenant, the ark of the covenant, the monarch, the Son of God. They've persecuted me. After they were warned by the Bible, after they were warned by the masses, billions of people on this planet said, don't persecute Christ. Don't be in rebellion. Stop looking to yourselves as if salvation magically comes for you, and admit that by your actions that I, Christ, am the Son of God. They couldn't do it. And through your offspring or seed, all nations on earth will be blessed. And again, I went over that before. See my Genesis series. I made it crystal clear that what it's referring to is the spiritual offspring, right? I just read, it was like the last video or so I talked about Luke. I have it right here in my notes here. Let me grab it right fast. Let's see here. Well, it's Luke where it says that he says, a woman says, blessed is the mother who gave you birth. He says, no, blessed rather are those who hear the word of God and obey it. Not people based on their flesh, but by the Spirit. And in another part of the Bible, it says, those who obey the commands of God are my family. It makes it clear. There is no flesh-based blessing. It's spirit-based. And through your offspring, all nations on earth will be blessed because you have obeyed me. Because of what? Because you have obeyed me. You did not obey God, which means obeying God through me. You people couldn't do it. You weren't man enough if you're a male. So you weren't woman enough if you're a woman. Or if you're female. Then Abraham returned to his servant, and they set off together for Beersheba, and Abraham stayed in Beersheba, Nahor's son. Right. Sometime later, Abraham was told Milcah is also a mother. She has borne sons to your brother Nahor, Uz, the firstborn, Booz, his brother, Camille, the father of Aram, Kesed, Hazo, Pildash, and again, I don't care about how these words are said, Jidlaph, and Bethuel. Bethuel became the father of Rebekah. Milcah bore these 8 sons to Abraham's brother Nahor. His concubine, whose name was Reumah, also had sons Tebah, Gaham, Tash, and Makkah.